Next, we have what is arguably the most important piece of equipment in the studio, the monitors, or more importantly, near-field monitors like these ones I've got here. These monitors are designed to be used at close range, typically within a few meters. If you don't know anything about near-field monitors or how they differ from regular hi-fi speakers, the latter are tuned and coloured to some degree as domestic hi-fi speaker manufacturers aim to bring their own unique flavour to the party, which is fine in the world of hi-fi, even high-end hi-fi, but for studio monitors, sound engineering and mixing purposes, domestic hi-fi speakers just won't do at all. Instead, the studio monitor has been designed in such a way that it does not colour the sound in any way. Instead, they're designed to reproduce the music naturally and accurately. Well, at least in practice they're supposed to, but there are even some studio monitors on the market that have a certain flavour, which is not good, as when you're mixing your song, what's required is an accurate representation of everything you're doing in the mix, be it getting the levels right, adjusting the EQ, or adding various effects such as reverb, delay, or compression, for example. So what you don't want is a pair of studio monitors that are coloured in any way. For example, if you buy a pair of studio monitors that are unnaturally bass heavy, you'd compensate for this during the mixing stage by bringing the bass down using EQ. Now this would sound fine on the monitors via your DAW and audio interface, but as soon as you bounce that track down, export it and play it back in a car, on your friend's hi-fi system or your Sonos in the bedroom or anywhere else, you'll notice a distinct lack of bass. This would be because the bass-heavy monitors tricked you into adjusting your mix to compensate, resulting in a bass-light final master. KRK Rockets are known for this. You've probably seen them on YouTube with their distinctive yellow bass drivers. I've had a few pairs of KRK Rockets in various sizes over the years, and to my ears, they always seem to be too heavy on bass and not that natural at all, more suited to, say, club DJs than studio recording engineers. I know they're popular and you see them in pretty much every bedroom studio on the planet, but that doesn't mean they're ideal for mixing. Back in the early 80s, every man and his dog were buying Amstrad stereo systems, but that didn't mean they were any good either. Fact is, those old Amstrad stereo systems were absolute garbage. Those who knew the difference bought decent hi-fi from companies such as Lin, Name, Nakamichi, Riga, Meridian and Krell, to name a few, but definitely not Amstrad. Now, I'm not putting KRK Rockets in the same ballpark as Amstrad music systems, but there are better tools for the job, especially given how important monitors are, and these are your listening devices. These are what you'll be doing your editing, mixing and mastering on, and they'll be giving you your audible feedback each and every time you adjust a knob or dial something in or move a slider, anything like that, just adjusting levels of the backing vocals, for example. So your monitors have to be good. In fact, they have to be better than good, or your mix won't be accurate, period. I've owned, tried, researched, loaned, bought and returned quite a lot of sets of near-field monitors over the years, and especially during the past 6 months in preparation for this video. I discounted the KRK Rocket range for reasons already explained, and although in the past I've used and owned the Adam A7X monitors and they are superb, in hindsight I did find the treble to be a little on the high side during extended sessions. Yamaha HS8s are very nice for the price, but the bass is a bit warm and the mids are a little muddy, while the treble is also a little bit too smooth. I won't go through them all, but I found various issues with several sets of monitors ranging from $300 up to about £1,000. In the end, I settled on a pair of Kali Audio IN-8 monitors, which is what I've got right here. Now, I'd never heard of Kali until recently when a friend of mine who owns a recording studio recommended them. During a phone conversation, he said that he'd heard them at a show and was really impressed. And this is coming from a guy who uses £40,000 ATC SCM300A monitors. The Kali IN-8s come in at around £650 for a pair. Now, anybody that knows anything about studio monitors will be thinking that's cheap, and they are. To others, it might sound expensive, but trust me on this, for the sound quality and accuracy that they reproduce for monitoring purposes, they're an absolute bargain, and here's why. Firstly, any professional recording engineer will tell you that a three-way monitor design with 3 separate speakers in each cabinet is the way to go: a bass driver, a mid-range and a tweeter. And I agree with this for various reasons, the main one being audible clarity in the mid-range. If you only have a two-way design with just a bass driver and a tweeter, The bass driver is trying to do two jobs at once. It's trying to reproduce accurate bass while also trying to put across mid-range with clarity. This is scientifically impossible. Well, at least if you want total and utter accuracy between the bass, mid-range and treble. So with two-way designs, there's typically some sort of audible compromise. Now you're probably looking at these Kali monitors and thinking, hang on a minute, they look like a two-way design to me, but they're not. They're actually a three-way design. The tweeter is in fact separate to the mid-range speaker. It's in the center of the mid-range driver, which is also another important advantage. Having a separate tweeter unit in the dead center of the mid-range driver in a dual concentric design means that you get pinpoint accurate stereo separation, incredible sound staging and super realistic imaging. There's also the time domain benefits and the off-axis response consistency that these dual concentric monitors provide. Basically, the 8-inch bass driver slams nice and deep, especially with the cleverly designed front-firing port, and it sounds smooth and natural. The mids are super clear, and you don't get any of that woolly muddiness that often plagues two-way designs, and the treble and tweeter is sweetly transparent without being fatiguing. Now, a little bit more about this unique front-firing port. Again, if you don't know about ported speaker designs and what they do, the porthole allows for deeper bass extension, but they aren't without their problems. Most ported monitors have a rear firing port, which can lead to problems as the wall directly behind them can have an adverse effect on the airflow, which can mess up the bass response. So to avoid this, a front firing port is generally a better idea, but there's more. Most ports are typically circular. Again, this can lead to issues. Kali have designed a letterbox shaped port along the bottom front of the speaker. This is supposed to help ensure that the air leaves the port at the same velocity, and after using them for a few months, I can say that Kali are in the right ballpark with this design. I think it's great that Kali have acknowledged that airflow from the port is important and gone out of their way to ensure that it stays laminar even at high volume levels, and it works rather well. Finally, there's the dip switches that Kali have considerably put on the back. These allow you to make tiny adjustments to the sound depending on the placement of them in your studio. If they're close up against a back wall, sitting on your desk like I have here, or mounted on separate speaker stands away from the wall, there will be a dip switch setting that will get these monitors sounding good in pretty much any room of any size and shape. They've been incredibly well thought out, and after speaking to the Kali designer on the phone for half an hour, I understand that they went to several studio locations to fine-tune these dip switches rather than just use some sort of computer model or calibration tool. The amount of time and effort that has gone into the design of these monitors is incredible given their low price. For me, at this price point, nothing else comes close for accurate mixing and mastering. Finally, if you're going to have your studio monitors mounted on the desk like I have here, I'd urge you to buy some decent desk isolation stands. If you're on a low budget, you can buy the pads from companies such as Universal Acoustics, who make the rather neat vibro pads, and they'll certainly get you part of the way there when it comes to isolating your monitors from the desk. But if you want to go the whole 9 yards, you'll have to spend a little more. Here, I'm using the ISO Acoustics ISO 200 stands, which come in at around £140. ISO Acoustics make these ISO stands in various sizes to suit different monitor sizes, and the ISO 200s are the size that are required for the Kali IN-8 monitors that I'm using here today. These stands have thick rubber on the top and bottom and a tough polycarbonate type frame with metal poles in between. They come with different sized poles and end stoppers to allow you to get the monitors at the right height and angle to your ears. When it comes to setting up your monitors, you'll need to position them so that the tweeters are level with your ears and towed in slightly, forming a triangle between your head and the two monitors. But more on this a little later.